excited to introduce you to an amazing, amazing human being. Jazz Jackson has been a mentor for me over the last year. Wears many, many different hats in the music industry, whether it be digital marketing, artist management, A&R. She's been working in the music industry for over 10 years. And she was one of the first people I thought of when I started this series. So I think you guys are going to get a lot out of this conversation. And Jazz, I'm so excited to have you as our first event.
Yes, this is going to be so great, y'all. Once again, nearly 30 souls in the room already. Thank you for sharing time and space with us. I know Jenna got a bunch of questions to ask me, but I could definitely do my little intro spiel about myself, give y'all a little bit more context about some of the many hats, like Jenna said, I currently wear in the music industry. I feel like something that I love most just about being a creative just across the board is that, especially within music, there's a role for everyone. And I feel that no matter what you're most passionate about, whether you want to work on fan activations and help bring immersive experiences to life for some of your favorite artists, maybe you're into concert photography. I saw someone does that, which I freaking think is epic. We need more women in the pits. Whether you want to work in metadata or work on the brand partnership side in marketing, there's a space for everyone in this global music business, as I said. But a little bit about me. My name is Jazz Jackson. I'm the founder, CEO of Unearthly Studios. We're a creative agency that specializes, we focus, I say our zone of genius is all things organic, social, brand, creative strategy. We're now starting to dive back into experiential, which I am super passionate about, connecting IRL and especially how can you bridge the gap between digital and offline. I also work with artists day to day on the A&R management side. I have the past 3 years really been working with artists in the trenches while building an agency. So probably wearing too many hats, like Jenna mentioned. I love to curate playlists, so I do curate. I'm a content creator myself. What else do I do? I do a lot. I write our
You
newsletters. I do way too many things.
literally
But
do way too much.
probably way too much. But I really do feel like from having so many just creatives in my network, a lot of us do wear multiple hats. So it's like we're multifaceted. And I think that's also a thing. And we're going to get into questions, but you can do more than one thing. And I also encourage, especially for all of the music lovers and the fans inside of all of us, to explore different roles. If that's not something you have done, but you're like, oh, maybe I want to try this, do it. Because I accidentally fell into A&R, artist management, honestly fell into the music industry. It was not my like immediately go like I knew I wanted to be in it. I've spent over a decade in marketing on the influencer brand partnership side. I've worked in-house, I've done freelance, I've worked at on the agency side with some of the biggest brands in the world, developing campaigns with brands like PUMA, Popeye, Circle K, Samsung were some of the clients I had before I left to go all in on my own venture, which is a big flip and leap. And I feel like I'm just getting started 3 years in. So that's a little bit about me. If anyone missed it, I am West Coast based currently, originally from Jersey. I'm mountain living in the middle of nowhere, Nevada, as I say. But yeah, it's so great to be here.
Yeah, Jazz was definitely one of the first few people in my network that I was just like, you guys can fully benefit from having a conversation with her. She works hard. Let's say she works super, super hard. And I know that Jazz said she didn't really see herself in the music industry at first. But Jazz, I wanted to ask you, what made you kind of make that pivot into the music industry? I know for me, I started running One Direction fan accounts and I was just like, can this be a job? Like I want to make this a job. And my mom was just like, I don't know how you could make this a job. So it's always interesting to see how you kind of get your first start and make you want to work in the music industry. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, that's such a great question. So I always say like I had a quarter life crisis, y'all. So I had spent, I don't know, 7 or 8 years in corporate America, working my way up the ladder, doing all the things we're told we gotta do. And I kind of just hit this wall of knowing that I was making an impact, but I was, like I said, I was working on the agency side where, I work with a few brands. I mean, these are global businesses, some of the biggest in the world. So you're still a middleman in so much of the machine. There's a lot of politics at play, especially working with a lot of companies on, what levers you can pull, what you can do. So I was like, okay, I can definitely continue to do this. I'm great at what I do. I love working with creators and influencers and developing campaigns, strategy. But being in marketing, it's so transferable. And I knew, hey, I can take this skill set just about anywhere and market just about anything because I've had to over the course of a decade. So I was like, okay, now if it's not just about like getting the skills and the experience, now what was left for me as I was nearing 30, I was in like my late 20s, it was all about fulfillment. So I went back to that word, fulfillment. What am I still curious about? What am I excited about? And side note, I do have a background in film production. So I went to college for film producing. So it was kind of like reflecting on my journey. What did I want like my 30s to look like? And, I'm in my mid 30s now. And what was going to fulfill me? And I was like, okay, well, I don't think this is going to fulfill me in this way. So I was like Googling, this was around COVID pandemic time, all at home. I was like, okay, well, marketing. Okay, what else am I passionate about? And it was always music. I grew up in choir, playing piano and violin, acting. So I was in early entertainment as a child, doing things, plays, extra work in movies. So I was always creative. And I was like, okay, well, always loved music. I always had a tie to it, going to concerts every other week, just doing my music curation, undercover A&R. I didn't know that was what I was doing, discovering artists on SoundCloud. And we have other tools now. But I was like, okay, music plus marketing. Oh, this is a whole thing. I was like, okay, well, this makes sense. Artists releasing music, they need to market to fans. Okay, how can I get into this if this is a path? So yeah, I did just jump into it. I kept my 9 to 5 for a couple of years before I finally went all in, but it was COVID. So we weren't outside. So I used that time for market research. I was on Twitter, y'all, like 10 hours a day, just dropping marketing gems, talking to artists, a lot of artists, asking them questions. What were their pain points? If I did a service, what could it look like? So I really was like, okay, if I'm going to do something, let me take my time and figure out what I want to do. I knew for me, at least where I was in my journey, I didn't want to go into the label system. I didn't necessarily want to go back to a 9 to 5 structure. I still knew what that would get me. And I was like, I want to do my own thing. But I was like, okay, well, music business, it's multi-layered, as many of y'all know. And because I worked on the A&R, the artist management side, I've learned so much over the years about all these different facets and components, roles in music, etc. But yeah, that's how I got my start. It was around then that I started getting beta clients off of Twitter, still working my 9 to 5, wasn't quite ready to hop, building my website, doing all the stuff behind the scenes to launch my business. And I fell into artist management at that time. People just started asking about talent management. I was like, well, I've managed creators and influencers, these campaigns. I could manage an artist. It's similar skill sets. Like I could definitely do it. So that's how I got into artist management. I had a few artists that had asked me. I selected 3. I had a roster of 3 at most. And I was like, I needed the portfolio experience too. So I did work with development artists because that gave me like in the trenches experience of working with an artist who's truly, I say green, developing, really doing all of the artist development things versus trying to join an already established artist, an already established team where you're coming into a business that's already has its motor and engine. So there's different ways to do it, but it just depends on where you kind of want to get your start, what stage of the journey you're in. And I also know a lot of people want to do their own thing.
Yeah, I think that's a big important thing when you want to work in the music industry. You don't necessarily have to fulfill the structure that's there for you. You can go completely out of the box and just try something new. That's like the things today aren't going to be here tomorrow. The music industry is always shifting. It's changed a lot since the pandemic. We've seen whether when it comes to the live industry, digital marketing, it, it it's industry that's never going to stop. And I think that especially as fans, we see that because we're directly in the trenches, especially being in fandoms. How have you seen that being a fan of music in general has kind of impacted your career from the beginning of it to where you are now?
Uh, I Something I always go back to, especially working with artists. I get a lot of folks that ask me about management. I do say no, y'all, almost 100% of the time for many reasons, for many reasons. But it comes back to being a fan of the music first. So I do work on the marketing side. We have clients, which include artists, working with managers, indie labels, artist management companies who have several artists. One of the things is always going back to no matter what I do, it's never losing my love for music and being a fan in all of this. The why behind this, all of it, and also because I do work with artists and entrepreneurs, it's really about the impact and the transformation I seek to create with those that I collaborate with, work with in any capacity. So I think like having that fan hat on first, even when I'm creating strategies and crafting rollout campaigns for clients or for the artists that I was working with directly on my roster, it was always about wearing that fan hat first and thinking like a fan. And social first too. Like I do think about social first creative when I build out campaign strategies and all those things, but what are going to be the pieces that really resonate and connect with your ideal audience, and also there's, most of y'all know, there's various levels of fandom, whether we're talking about the super fans who are the ones flying out to someone's residency and making sure that they're meeting up with the Beehive or the Swifties or whatever name for that artist or group is. And then you're going to have those casual fans who maybe just follow you on social, but they're still sharing your music, so they're still actively a part of your ecosystem. But there's going to be fans on every level. So I think I always think about that as a strategist and as someone working directly with artists and their teams of how is this going to connect with the fans. Of course, that includes things like social. There's so many different fan engagement initiatives and tactics that you can bring to life. How, like I said, how we bridge the gap from digital to IRL. Are we doing a listening experience? Are we doing an immersive pop-up event where fans can come and connect with the artists? So I think fan first and like not losing the fan in it, because working with artists, y'all, like they are like sometimes it can get easy to lose that. And you're just focused on the promo and you're focused on these other metrics that, yes, it's data, it's a signal, but it's not what matters most. What matters most are the people, the souls, the audiences that you're connecting to, and making sure, I don't care if you got 10 fans, 20 fans, 50, 1,000, that you make every single one of them feel seen in some way. And I think that's where still the ball is being dropped, and there's so much opportunity for artists, creators, and teams of all levels. So I got more thoughts on that, but I know, Jenna, you have a lot of questions for me.
No, no, I'm gonna keep including this because you and I have seen that fan engagement used to be such a buzzword in the music industry that nobody wanted to use. And now it's more at the forefront when it comes to immersive experiences and fan HQ pages. But I guess with that, how have you seen the term fan engagement change from your perspective over the last since the pandemic, I'd say, because there's been a big shift, especially when it comes to pop-up events. There's so many more pop-up events than there were like 5, 6 years ago. And especially like we're getting back to more live shows and things like that. How has fan engagement shifted for you?
Yeah. It's crazy being right, and then you just gotta wait for the world to catch up. But I've been calling the shift for so many years, and I can even look back at the work I was doing 2021, 2022, and I was like, no, this is what we need to focus on now. And now we're here. So I think it was kind of like, I think it always mattered, but in social and marketing, every year there's a buzzword, whether it's community, authenticity, fan engagement, super fans, all words for the same fucking thing, y'all. I'm just going to be honest. At the end of the day, it's marketing. At the end of the day, it is the same thing that we have been doing for decades. And it just looks a little different. So, we had newspapers, we had billboards, we've had so many variations of how to connect, but we got spoiled. We got so spoiled with social. We got so spoiled with TikTok. We got spoiled. And the I've been in social for almost 15 years. So I've been doing this since Tumblr, MySpace, early Facebook marketing. I've seen the rise of all these platforms, which ones have stayed, which ones have come and gone. There's been hundreds, as many of y'all know, who have not made it through the cut. But when we're thinking about it, y'all, oh my goodness, I go back to like this fan engagement piece. It's really building it in now. Like it's like you said, Jenna, it's not a nice to have anymore because we got spoiled with social. It's now a need to have. There's a lot of stats, a lot of statistics, but just across the board, user engagement is down across all the platforms. Audiences are seeking to disconnect and get offline. These is just the proofs in the data. Screen time is down across the board. If I'm a trends and strategist girly, so I do pay attention about what's trending, what's coming. The shift to experiential is here. Like I think it's about almost 70% of marketers are investing in experiential immersive experiences. Community is not just a buzzword, it's everything. So it's kind of like an artist can say, I got 50,000 followers across my socials. Why aren't people buying my tickets? We get that a lot. Artists who blew up on TikTok, or artists who, it's not just artists, it's across the board, but where then you go to monetize or sell something, and like you can't even fill a 50 cap or 100 cap room because it's like, yeah, but followers aren't fans. So that's a whole other conversation. So I think it goes back to, are you nurturing relationships? At the end of the day, in 2026, millions, billions of pieces of content are going live. You got 100,000 songs that are being released. Half of it's AI songs. You got attention that's fragmented across multiple platforms, not just social, y'all. Netflix, sporting events, everything that has taken our attention. Attention is the currency. It is everything. And if you cannot keep attention, maintain attention, hold attention, convert attention, you're not going to make it. And that's across the board for everyone. Doesn't matter if you're an artist, if you're an entrepreneur like myself, if you're a content creator, attention. And I think that's where people are feeling the tension right now and the hurt. People aren't seeing my content. I know, like on average, if you're lucky, 3 to 5% of your following is seeing your content every time you post. Y'all, 3 to 5%, which is why you're seeing Substacks, newsletters, blogs, vlogs, podcasts, content that nurtures. The whole 7 to 15 seconds of short form bullshit, like I'm telling you, y'all, we're in just like completely different paradigm from where we were, like Jenna said, even just 2 or 3 years ago. And I think that's what it truly is about social. Why I love marketing and why I'm still in it is that it evolves so fast. Like I'm telling you, if anyone else is in social like me in marketing, these platforms are changing every week. Every week. So if this is not your full time, there's no way you can know like the latest on how these tools are working. It's likely you're still doing a strategy that worked 2 or 3 years ago and wondering why things aren't connecting. So anyway, fan engagement, I think it goes deeper of like, no, it's not just about engagement. It's really about building relationships. And really, Community. We talk about it so much, that word, but your tribe, we can give them, you can give them your own name. But you really got to facilitate those relationships, and artists got to do it with their fans. And because I work with artists, y'all, whoo, Chile, you be like, so do you respond to your comments? No. Do you DM anyone? Do you say thank you? Are you asking why they followed you? We are so on the artist side, y'all. So if you want to work with artists, just know. Like it sometimes it can be like pulling teeth for them to get it. Like, but you have to build relationships. Like there are just too many options out here for people to just act like entitled and that things are a given. And I think, yeah, we got spoiled. We got spoiled with social.
Yes. Yes, we did. I think about like 10 years, actually 10 plus years ago when I was on One Direction stan Twitter. We were like starved for things back in the day. And now I'm just like, I see everything, like from all the artists I like all the time. And I'm just like, give me a second, like, give me a second. But I know that we talked about like building relationships, so I want to shift it a little bit. The music industry is all about building relationships when it comes to growing your network, getting opportunities. How has your networking process changed from the beginning of your career to now? Because I know that especially when we were coming up during COVID, the only thing we could really do was be online. But now that there's so many more networking events, even going to online things like this, like there's so many more ways to connect with people in person. So how have you seen that shift over the last few years?
Oh, yeah. There's so many options. Too many options for my bank account to handle. And I think that was another point I wanted to make too, is that, no matter what you're joining, whether you're a fan that is supporting their favorite artist, buying merch, going to shows, or supporting their residency, or you're someone that's an entrepreneur like myself that's joining masterminds, communities. We have social clubs now, right? Because of the shift from social with digital fatigue, audiences seeking to essentially disconnect to reconnect with each other. COVID, right? It took away our ability to connect in person, to hug, to be together, to be in a room with people who shared interests and hobbies with you. We lost that for a little bit. And now you're seeing, right? We got the rise of TikTok helped this, right? We got the niche talks. So whether you're book talk, gardening talk, anime talk, there's a talk for everything, right? You got run clubs, you have the rise of social clubs. So in just about every city, there's a social club for everything, a social club for creators, a social club for women founders. There's online webinars, online communities. Now, because of this, because we also have a lot of immersive experiences, pop-ups, community things, fans, consumers are going to be extra selective with where we're putting our money. That's just a reality. We got the state of the world, we got politics, the rise in fuel prices, the war across the world. There's a lot of wars going on. We're going to see a bigger shift. Like, I'm still waiting to see the big impact on touring from everything that's happening. It's already happening. Tours are getting canceled left and right. So, like I said, there's a lot of stuff at play, especially economics and music, politics and music. We know that. So, I think people are going to be so selective. But when it comes to networking, something that I also think too, because of that, people are going to pay to be in the right rooms. So if we're thinking about folks like us who, are fans, are creatives, industry professionals, something that I've done differently, especially because I work remote first now, is I do a lot of virtual networking. So I'm a big proponent of, especially as a lot of ladies in this room, I think there's all women in this room, not too sure, don't want to assume, I haven't seen the list, but there's a lot. There's a lot. It's easy to stretch yourself thin. It's easy to say yes to too many things, too many calls on your calendar. That's probably my thing. I say yes to a lot of intro calls. But let me tell you this, because one of my first music mentors told me, and her name's Janine McLean. She's a badass, y'all. She's been working in music for over 20 years. She currently manages Omarion, working with B2K now. But she's she developed her, Tyrese, like she's worked with a whole arsenal. She said, like, Jazz, like, this is the relationships business. And your network is your net worth. And I had to think about that, especially as someone breaking into the industry, especially coming from, marketing, but I still was kind of breaking into the industry. I didn't really know, and there's a lot of roles in music. So I did a lot of virtual calls, y'all. And if you are working across the globe, if you are working in a remote country where there's not a lot of access to opportunities in your country, region, or city, use the power of the internet. Y'all, it has changed my life. The DMs have changed my life. Like, it goes down in the DMs. I don't care what no one tells y'all. It does for business. For business, I don't know about all the other stuff, but I have met clients, collaborators, partners. I mean, even connecting like this, bringing us all together, the power of the internet. There's a lot of free communities, especially for women in music, creators in music. So I am going to share out a resource list of things I'm in, others for y'all to check out, a lot of virtual. But with that, I say, don't say yes to everything. I feel like now, at least for me, because I'm so busy, I don't say yes to meetings without an agenda, but I like just to talk because I'm like in a season where it's like I don't have as much time. But especially for trying to break in, if there's like an executive that you follow, send them a DM, shoot your shot. Say, hey, you got 15, 20 minutes. I would love to ask you about these couple of things specifically. Like, don't ever say, like, can I pick your brain? Like, don't do it. Like, it is such
Don't do that. Please
a
don't.
no go. But if you can come to someone with already knowing what you want to get out of that conversation, it could just be like, I got a question for you, or what are your thoughts on this, or I saw you worked on that. Also, people are pretty friendly, and I think most people will say yes to y'all if only you ask. So follow them on LinkedIn. Yeah, I shoot my shot, y'all. So I just want to say that about networking. I don't think that people are completely out of reach, but I do want to tell, like, last thing about networking is to build across. Like, do what we're doing now, build across with the people who are doing cool things, support each other. Instead of trying to reach someone who's 20, 30 years in and trying to break in that way, I promise you, like, even those of us in this room, there could be some of y'all that take off further than me in a year. Like, it's true. Like, you just never know. So network across, but use the power of the internet, shoot your shot. Cause I think as women, we don't do enough of it. I don't care what it is. Like, send a DM, send an email, ask for that 15, 20 minutes. It helps so much. But yeah, that's my thought on networking. I think like you can never lose with networking. Y'all, I'm still networking. I network
Yes.
all day on LinkedIn. I'm just
Oh,
intro calls, networking, especially in
no.
business.
Yeah, in the music industry, you never stop networking. The second you stop networking is the second that things start to go away and things start to minimize, and you don't want that. But I think that's a big thing when networking can be scary. I still sometimes get terrified by it, or if someone doesn't answer my DM, I'm just like, really sad about it. But I guess over the years, how have you developed confidence to when people maybe don't respond to your DMs, or maybe you don't get something from someone that you expected and you're kind of just disappointed? Because I've been there many times. It's something that you kind of just have to deal with and keep moving on from. But how have you found ways to kind of move on from that and kind of build your confidence next time, you know?
Yeah. One thing I love to say about confidence is it's you can't fake it. You can't fake it. People think they can, but it is really built through reps. It is built through eating rejection for breakfast, honestly. I mean, Jenna, to your point on DMs, I send intro messages every day, and a lot of them go unresponded. People will read them and not respond, and I'm just like, it's 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 okay. What matters most is that I planted that seed of intention there. Because also people message me and like I think I responded and it'll be 2 weeks later and I'm like, oh no, I did mean to respond to this. Like I never take things personally to an extent, to an extent, right? Because I have high standards and boundaries, but like when it comes to things like that, like I don't believe in a no. Maybe that's why I'm so I just don't believe in no. I'm like, I just believe it's like a not right now. So if someone doesn't get back to me, I was like, okay, just not right now. I can follow up again. If I ask, like, it's like if I ask someone to participate and be a speaker in my event and they said, like, hey, I can't do it right now. Okay, I wouldn't feel as rejected. They said not right now, but I just treat everything as a not right now. I mean, brand deals, collaborations, proposals I sent, contracts that fell through, client relationships that were misaligned. Like there's a lot of things that will happen. I mean, I've been laid off more than once from roles. I mean, so many people have experienced that. There's going to be a lot in life that is so out of your effing control. So I choose to focus on what's in my control. What's in my control is the intention I set when I sent the DM. And what's in my control is my attitude about it. I just choose to not take it personally, especially in this crazy entertainment industry. People like forget things all the time. Usually it just takes a couple follow-ups. Y'all also too, the power of the follow-ups, that's how you make money at the end of the day. Like the follow-up email, an opportunity, if there's a brand or a company you really want to work for, maybe you applied for a role and didn't get accepted, apply again, and then go find someone on talent acquisition on LinkedIn and go follow them and then message them. See, that's how
Mhm.
you get what you want eventually. But it's like really true. Like you really just have to be like, okay, okay. I also know a lot of people are navigating the job market, and it's is challenging for so many people who are looking for roles. I know post grads, a lot of people who have been laid off, especially from roles within music and entertainment in mass over the past year and a half, 2 years. So I feel like we all experience it, but I think you can't let that you can't let it mean you're like your self-worth. Like it's not your identity. A no is it's honestly it's the easiest thing to get. I think in business too. And working with artists, I've pitched my artists for so many things. We don't land, we get rejected all the time. I mean, it just comes with this business, honestly. And it takes resilience. It takes you got to have your armor on to an extent of understanding that it's not a reflection of you. And I think that's the hardest part because we make it about us. We make it about us.
We do.
And it's so hard not to, I know, but you got to take yourself out of it and just be like, it's not about me at all. Cause usually it's not. So that's how I've handled it. Cause I think like I get rejected probably all the time.
No, and I think rejection's just like it's a way for you to continue progressing. Like I'll share an example for me. Last year, I was working at Universal Music. I was one of the many hundreds of thousands, well, probably like hundreds of people that got laid off. And through that, and I was so miserable at that job, but, and I was thinking about starting like, oh, this account where I could share resources on how to work in the music industry. If I didn't get laid off from that job, I wouldn't have started the Fangirl pipeline. And this was probably the best thing that could have happened to me because literally rejection is redirection. It's how you evolve and grow. But I want to give everyone, we're approaching like 20 minutes left, so I want to give everyone time to kind of ask any questions to me and Jazz, whether you want to type them in the chat or if you want to say them, you're more than welcome to. But I want to give you guys this time to just ask any questions that you may have. So whoever wants to go for it, like, please. Mia, do you want to go?
Yes, please.
Of course, yeah.
Hi, I'm Mia. I run Skydivers HQ, and it's like a little
Oh.
account for a small artist. Um, and I've helped grow her fandom from like I think we used to have about 15 people in our group chat, and we now have over 65. Um, and my question is, what would you say got you the most experience for working in the music industry?
Ooh, okay. I would definitely say this. Throwing myself into, and I wrote an article about this recently, but throwing myself into A&R and artist management. And that was something I never did before. So when one of my first artists had asked me about management, I was like, I don't even know what this is. Like, what's an artist manager? What's an A&R? I was like, and then I'm Googling it. I'm like, okay, oh, I could do all of that stuff, but I had never done it. So one day I wasn't in the music industry. And the next day, I got multiple titles. I never was under, a UMG or a Capital or even like a indie label. I was truly building independently with just a few artists. So I literally trial by fire. That's how I learned and got into the music business. But it taught me so much about the business because there's being an artist, there's releasing the song, there's the marketing, but then there's the business behind all that. There's the relationships. You got to learn about metadata. You got to learn about sync. You got to learn about what's a F is a split sheet and PROs and trademarks and like as a manager, it's a lot of hats and you're kind of like fluid. So you fit in where you got to fit in for that day. So that really gave me that experience. I will also say I interned like so it's like not my first rodeo because in college too I interned at like radio stations. I was on the street team for the radio where I was doing fan promotions and going to all the concerts and doing all the giveaways and pop-up stuff for the radio station and planning intimate sessions where the artists would come to the radio station. Oh, when radio still matters. Like, I'm not saying it doesn't, but like, it was fun. So, but then again, I was interning. So, y'all all know about internships. I think it's such a great way to go. I would also say, too, if you have a favorite artist, I'm like, maybe I know we all can't reach the biggest artists in the world and their teams, but there's artists on every size. There's venues in your city. There's ways to start to volunteer and to break in, especially if you know what you're kind of curious about or interested about. So I think the great thing now, and where everyone in this room is so uniquely positioned to win, is that we do have a lot more opportunities for women, especially women in music that are popping up. Things like what Jenna's building with the Fangirl pipeline. You have organizations like Women in Music, Femme It Forward, Amplify Her Voice, She is the Music, She Said So, Gritty and Pink. I'm going to share all these out with y'all. There are communities that are actively also helping to get y'all placed in these different roles. There's more mentorship programs than we had even just a few years ago, especially if you're interested in mentorship opportunities. There's a few that are open. So I'm going to share out some resources for y'all that are timely and relevant. But I think there's way more paths than people think, but just resources y'all might not know exist. So I participate in a lot of these communities, or I've been in them as a member. So I think there's different pathways. I live remotely too, so I just want to tell y'all, you do not need to live in one of these cities to break into this industry. I want to hit on that because people keep telling me, are you going to move back? Are you going to move back to Cali or back to the East Coast? No, I'm trying to move out the country. But like we know, there's music hubs and cities all around the world. So don't box yourself in, use your resources, especially the internet. Like I said, there's a lot of communities you can participate in. A lot are free. Some have like a paid membership, but getting access to the room, I think that's what's vital. So that's what I would say. But yeah, I think for everyone thinking about like, okay, what am I passionate about? What roles might I be interested in pursuing? I will say, for example, I'm not a concert photographer, but I've done film production, photography, videography for years. I'm still interested in doing some camera work at some shows. Why not? Because I can. And, so I'm going to break in that way. And I'm like, I don't know. I haven't done concert photography yet, but there's a way in. I promise you. It's just kind of figuring out what you really love and kind of where you're at. If you're able to get the things in person, do that. But if you're working remotely, there's still
Yeah, yeah, no. Well, we have like a bunch of questions in the chat, which is
I was
really,
just about to say go to the chat because there's been a
yeah,
few
yeah. So
throughout.
we'll do our first question. Tabby asked about any advice on how to stand out to employers when applying to music industry jobs. I Okay. From the perspective, so when it comes to applying to jobs, I would strongly suggest not cold applying. Unfortunately, we're at the point in the music industry where nobody reads that. You might maybe once, I think I've gotten lucky maybe once just cold applying. From what Jazz said, the best thing you can do is go to the company's LinkedIn page, see the people that are in your area or the people that are in talent acquisition. Just message them being like, "Hi, I'm interested in this role and just want to learn more about this," or something very, very minimal. And that's your way to get in the door. Jazz, I'll let you go on about that more, but yeah, it's
Yeah. I think, yeah, to Jenna's point, yeah, those applications are crazy. Linked,
yeah.
but I would say LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great place to start because I will say it because I send roles to people all the time. Like, hey, this came on my timeline. This came on because I'm connected to so many people in entertainment. So a lot of times people don't even they'll do a formal job role because they have to through HR and the whole pipeline, but they'll go on their LinkedIn network first saying, hey, I'm looking for this, we're hiring for this, and then network, do what you do. So I think LinkedIn, like Jenna said, is a great point. Also thinking about different tiers of companies. So let's say you don't want to work at like a UMG Capital, RCA, the bigger labels. There's indie labels for just about every freaking genre. Artist management companies. There's so many, especially as I mentioned, the wave of layoffs in music. A lot of executives are now starting their own companies, bringing their own artists and clients and doing their own thing. I think there's going to be more opportunities across the independent space. And that's just not independent artists and their businesses that they're building, but also independent operators, builders, executives like myself who are building their own thing. Also, on that note, portfolios. I think portfolios are freaking huge.
Someone had a question about portfolios. I'll go through.
Okay, so I don't know. Portfolios over resumes in 2026. That's just across the board. People don't want to read a resume. Not saying you can't. We need to have one. It's a formality. They want to see what you can do. And if it's not something you've done, what would you do? So maybe it's about, hey, I don't have a lot of experience or I'm post grad. Is there an artist that you love that you could be like, if I worked on their campaign, here's what I would do? Or is there like another way into that? So I have like my portfolio, I talk to people all the time hiring, they're looking at portfolios. So anything, college stuff is relevant, internship experience. You can do mock concepts. Like we see that on the internet where people be like, if I was doing their campaign, here's what I would do to make it better. You could do stuff like that, something that shows your zone of genius, whatever you're building. But I think portfolios, because people are going to ask to see something. Um, and then two, for those who want to break in with artists specifically, I think like you shooting shots like on like specifically for artists in their team. That might mean you have to figure out what label they're under. Not everyone's trying to work with the most mainstream artists. So if it's an independent R&B artist, okay, who's their manager? Maybe I reach out to their manager and see if there's an opportunity here for me to work on this to build my portfolio, etc. So there's a lot of paths in, but I think portfolios are definitely a key.
No, portfolios, and they're just so much more fun to look at. It's just a way for you to really be creative and for people to see your personality. It you could have no experience in the world, but if your portfolio is like absolutely like cool, like people are gonna talk about it. Like, and especially when it comes to being a fan and running fan accounts, you can put that on your portfolio. You can put different links to certain posts that you've done, or maybe if you're a graphic designer, certain things you've done for fan pages. There's so many ways that you can use the portfolio. I think resumes, they're obviously, like Jazz said, they're obviously essential. We still need them, unfortunately, but they don't show our personality and who we are. They only show a very, very small part of what we've done in the past, but not who we are as a person or what we're passionate about. So don't sleep on the portfolio at all, because I have a portfolio that I have to update like as soon as possible. But there's the portfolio just really helps you, especially just sending it to just even cold DMing it to people is really cool. Like you never know where a portfolio could take you. We do have a few
There's some questions about A&R. I
yes, yeah,
know too.
yeah. I'll let you take that, You're the A&R expert.
I was like, A&R. Oh my goodness, y'all. I'm like taking a little break from developing artists right now, but I'm about to get back into it. So I cannot wait. So stay up to date with me. Okay, so yeah, about questions about A&R, I think there's some different paths. So I'm gonna share a whole resource list out with y'all. I gotta compile a lot of stuff because I'm using a lot of these questions to know what's most relevant that y'all want to learn about, know about. But courses, see, I think the thing with courses, especially A&R, is that things get so outdated by the time they're made. So like you could go to school for music business, but it's nothing like actually refining your taste, working with artists in the trenches, especially on the A&R side. There are different types of A&Rs though. So it depends on like, do you want to work more on the A&R side with like the metadata and working with, making sure all their catalogs set up correctly, and more on the data side, you can work A&R like forward facing, working on more with marketing. There's different A&Rs that do different things. So one of the things I would say, especially for an A&R, is refining your taste in music. Someone had mentioned about hosting your radio show at your university. You just did a show about underrated artists. So what else can you do to refine that? There's a few things you can do. Something I do to really refine my A&R chops is like art, like how much are you, one, I'm assuming you're listening to a shit ton of music because I think A&Rs have to have taste. I don't care about anything else. Do you have great taste in music? Do you have an ear for music? Can you, are you on SoundCloud, or we got Untitled, Bandcamp, recommendations from friends? Are you following curators on TikTok, on, a lot of them have Substacks now, on Instagram? I think following different tastemakers is key, but also for you, like every single week from the music you're listening to, pick out like, okay, what are the 3 tracks I think are stand out that have legs, or maybe it's the artist that's singing that track, or maybe it's the rapper that's rapping, and like actually track those artists. Cause I like y'all, man, I got Spotify playlists from years. And I look back at those artists and I was like, I fucking called it. I said he was gonna blow up, she blew up, and he blew up. And my ear for music has never lied, and I've called dozens of artists at this point. At least who really they broke through to a certain extent, because there's different calibers of success in music. So yeah, I think refining your taste, because taste is everything as an A&R. Oftentimes as A&Rs, if you're working in the label environment, if you're an indie label or indie like emergent or independent A&R at an indie label, and I know this because I have a lot of friends that are A&Rs, they have listening sessions at these companies where the A&Rs got to come to the room with the music they're listening to, the artist, pull up the chart metric, pull up the stats, why they should potentially sign this artist, or why they should put them on their list to pay attention to. So you got to be doing that. If you want to say you want to work in A&R, you can't hop on a wave. Usually as an A&R, it's like you are bringing talent to the table that you want to get signed, or if you're working independently, that you want to develop yourself. So I just think of A&R. See, yeah, that's what you did every day or every week for your internship. Yeah, I think that's A&R in itself. Also too, A&R roles are hard to get. I will say that. Like the A&R
Yes.
title role, you got to earn that role. And we go back to relationships. Oftentimes, people who are put in these A&R spots, they built a relationship. And they didn't start in A&R. They started as a manager or working with the talent in this capacity, or maybe they were their tour manager, or it's through the network. So I think A&R is not a role that is easy to get into, especially depending on what caliber you're trying to do it. Like, not saying it can't happen because there's a lot of people working on A&R teams, but yeah, I think taste matters most for A&R because yeah.
Yeah. Well, you have a good point with that. If you look at A&R positions for major labels on LinkedIn, there's a reason that they have like two, three times more applications than any other job because everyone is just like, oh, this is so cool. Like I'm like I have taste, this is what I want to do. But unfortunately, a lot of people feel that way as well. So the way to kind of put yourself to I would suggest not applying to any jobs cold, but um A&R is tough. I worked in A&R for 9 months and at an indie label, and it's not for the weak. A lo- it I'd say when it comes to fans, a lot of us are very good with finding artists at the beginning of their careers, but I'd say don't necessarily focus on one specific thing like Jazz and I have done. We're all wearing multiple different hats. Like, you never know. Maybe you start out in digital marketing and you work your way into A&R. People want people want to network and connect with people that they can trust, and building that relationship over time can get you to where you want to be in the future. I We have a few more questions. I know we talked a lot about A&R, but I want to shift this question a bit more. How would we kind of recommend offering help to artists maybe in our area or venues in our area to kind of get our foot in the door? Because I think don't sleep on your local music scene. Do not sleep on your local music scene. There are some really cool people probably in your local music scene. How do you see that, Jazz?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I did, y'all. And I do want to say when I'm kind of hiatus from management right now, but all my artists were remote, so I did travel to go see them and stuff. So I will say it does not matter about location once again, because people also think to be a manager, to be an A&R, you gotta be in the same city as your client or talent. You do not. Like I see it, it happens all the time. Um, just like artists travel, like executives travel too to do things outside of just the talent they might be working with. So I think when it comes to, I was seeing something about artist development too. Recommending help to a new artist. That's the path that I did. I found because I'm A&R all the time, y'all. I got playlists I never share, and I'm just like artists I'm watching, and I just listen back, and when they follow them, so I get all their latest releases and stuff. I literally that's how I got into management. There's a couple artists that asked me. There was synergy. We worked together for a little bit, tested the waters, and it made sense. But I've also approached the artist of like, hey, I feel like there could be some alignment here. And once again, I go back to the fan of the music. I was already a fan of their music when I approached them, and also when they approached me. So I will say, do not say yes to managing or developing an artist that you do not love their music, you do not genuinely care about them as a person, because they are human. Outside of just the music that they create and release, they're a whole multifaceted human with moods, and there's going to be pain points and things you got to overcome together as a team. But I would offer the help. And obviously, you cannot do this with someone like a Sabrina Carpenter. She's not going to respond to you. But I'm sure y'all listen to music and artists on different calibers, where maybe it is a DM, Maybe something you do like a video where you say, hey, if I was working on X artist fan team, here's an event I would put together to get on their radar. That's worked a lot for people to be able to work with brands and companies and artists in that sense. But for the smaller artists, smaller labels, indie labels, like Jenna said, venues in your city. Take a look at your city and see the shows that are coming to your local venues. Every single show, there's gonna be something that has about the record label, about maybe the management company on the flyer. Not all of these are big, the biggest in the world where it's like, okay, let me look them up. So that could be a path. But venues is a great way to go, especially if you're trying to get into live entertainment, potentially touring management, front of house, back of house stuff. Like venues are a great way. And every city, like Jenna said, there's usually a music connection. So yeah, I think those are some good things. And then artist development, artist development is a tricky freaking thing because there's different paths into it. Like if y'all know, like these labels aren't they're not developing artists. No, you gotta these artists need to come developed. So guess who's doing the developing? The independent managers and A&Rs. We're doing the developing, and then we're getting them to these rooms where the deals are happening. But that's after we've done a whole shit ton of work on the development side. So I also think when it comes to artist development, you have to understand, okay, if I want to get into artist development, what tier of artists am I trying to work with? Are you working with a green artist who's never performed on a stage, who's never released an album or a track? That green? Or do you want to work with an artist on the development side who, okay, maybe they released an EPR project, they've done some live shows, maybe they've done a small tour. So I think you got to understand where you want to fit in there, because also development artists aren't making money. So I love artist development. I'm passionate about it. I just want to say you better be doing it for the love, and you got to love that artist, especially for an artist that's really developing. It's easy to come in when an artist is already starting to pick up on the momentum and the curation pages are picking up, and then they land a festival and then people are talking about them. That's easy. What's hard is getting into A&R and talent management for an act they're going to need 3-5 years. Am I willing to be part of that journey? And that's just something I think about with artist management and development, because it's a journey. All the acts everyone loves, a lot of these acts are in their 30s now. So the Sabrina Carpenters, the Olivia Rodrigo, like all these people that are breaking
Zara
through.
Larson.
Zara, that's my girl. Been rocking with her for 15 years. But it's like, y'all, that long. And Olivia Dean's manager has been with her for a decade. Are you willing to build? And I think that's my last note about this development.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You see a lot of these award shows celebrating people who are breakout artists. Nobody's a breakout artist. People have been working at this for years and years, and the majority of the time, they have a team that they've been with for years. Sometimes it's even just their friends who had no experience in the music industry but wanted to support their friend. So there's a lot more ways to get into the music industry than it seems. It can feel a little gatekeepy, but oh, Paula, do you have a question?
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't want to cut you off.
Oh
So
no,
finish
no.
your
This
thought.
is for you guys.
Okay, no, I just wanted to ask Andrew because I don't know if I know how to word this, but so I'm studying a uni now, and I'm a concert photographer. Like mostly used to work with publication, like independent publications, but I'm actually starting to work in it now. So like I'm getting to know people, but I'm still obviously like not like it's not a proper thing yet. So I was wondering if you have any tips on like how to use those connections to then like further just get myself in the door to music. Because obviously like I love doing concert photography and I don't want to stop doing that, but I want to like start doing more than just that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a big proponent of never boxing yourself in. I feel so strongly about using the power of our networks, because usually if you know what you're interested in, like okay, maybe you're doing concert photography, but now you're interested in artist management, I honestly like use the relationships and the connections you have Like you never, honestly, that's how I get so many opportunities. It's through my relationships. And people don't know what you're looking for until you tell them. So if you've already been working in music, doing concert photography, I know you've met people, whether they're other photographers or someone that works at the venue, or maybe an artist that you shot in their team. I would use those connections. I think that's the biggest thing about this crazy entertainment business. It like really does come back to the power of connections. And leverage those relationships. I think too, doing concert photography, just from being a photographer, I know every time I was shooting photography, I met so many people. So I don't know if when you're shooting, like how you are able to do networking, if you're able to share like a business card, or they got all sorts of virtual business cards and different things you can do, but leverage the connections on the ground too, especially at venues, festivals, any opportunities you secure, because artists, like, man, they know people, their managers know people. So I think, yeah, there's a lot of money to be made. It just depends on what you want to do. I have a lot of photographers in my network, like someone just said, I think Alyssa, portrait photography for artists. You can do magazine covers. There's a lot of digital mags, album art, album covers. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to break in. And then I know there's a couple questions about like journalism too. So I think like, yeah, for a lot of this is kind of like how to venture into these things. I think like it's really knowing first what you want to do and what portion of this business you want to go to. Because even something like concert photography, like actually for both of them, it's like using the power of Instagram too. Like I am a proponent of socials, y'all, because whether you want to break into one field or another, a lot of the people doing it, like they're on socials too. So I'll shoot your shot if there is a specific, like, let's say you want to do more photography and there's a concert photographer who's a woman photographer who you really want to work with, or like, oh goodness, it would be so cool to be a second shooter for a concert with her. Shoot your shot, DM her. That's just an example. Like, there's a lot of cool women concert photographers. But yeah, I think it comes back to like really shooting the shot. I just talk to a lot of women who just like don't ask. And I'm like, y'all, closed mouths do not get fed. My granddaddy taught me that, and I promise y'all, it's probably the only reason I'm on the path to success is because like I ask for everything I want, and I might not get a response, or maybe it's like, hey, I just gonna make this connection, or it's not a timing thing. But yeah, y'all, like shoot your shot, use the connections you have. And yeah, there was a question about music journalism too. I think it's the same thing. There's music journalism is shifting so much, y'all. And I think for those who want to venture into music journalism, pick up that pick up that phone. Pick up that phone and share. Create content that makes sense for you. Cover the artists that you want to cover. Or, music journalism can look different. You could be curating, the playlist and doing music reviews. You could want to actually interview artists in person. Just do it. I have people in my network, literally, whether you want to do someone like an Annabelle Klein who built that good shit and she's interviewing artists, but she did a lot of virtual stuff. My girl Elsie, same thing. She just did an interview with Pink Pantheress. I've been building with these women for years in music journalism. Literally, they just got started. They just one interview to the next. Scrappy. Hey, if you can't meet with these artists in person, we got Zoom. You got stream. You can do Riverside. You can do virtual interviews. You can do a IG reel covering the latest music release. I'm just saying, I would really, because especially with music journalism, y'all, a lot of things have shifted. A lot of things. So journalists are getting laid off too. A lot of these publications aren't being funded. So that's why journalists are turning to these platforms themselves. So I think y'all do not wait on people to give you an opportunity. Do not.
Please, and there's also so many pages on Instagram interviewing artists, like photographers,
Yes.
always
Yes.
looking for people. Granted, most of the time they're volunteered, but it's a very, very good way to get started. We're gonna do one more question. Let's see. I just had okay. So we had a question about how to kind of get into event and experiential marketing. I I think that it's very similar to the live industry as much as it seems like very small gatekeeping. There are many, many different ways to put yourself in there. Jazz, if you want to elaborate on that. I like recently for me, I just got I had the opportunity to work at a pop-up event for a music festival in the next 2 weeks. But there's like you never know that there's like thousands of employees that people that have to get when it comes to experiential marketing and comes to immersive events. But Jazz, I'll let you take the lead on this last question.
Yes, I just want to say this has been so great, and I love to see everyone connected in the chat. This is what
Yeah,
this is about. Yeah, y'all send me a connect on LinkedIn. I'll accept all of them after this. And I love to talk. So please DM me with any more questions because there were questions we couldn't get to, but yeah, DM me with any other questions and I'll help y'all out. But I think for events and experiential, this is something for the agency we're going really focusing on as a core offering because just like we talked about pop-ups, immersive experiences, brands are doing brand activations in mass. If you want to be in experiential and events, you are perfectly positioned. You are right on divine time because that's where the money is going. So once again, you just have to go back and think, okay, I want to do this. If it's for artists, is there a certain type of artist you want to do immersive events for? Or, because there's so many different paths. There's also experiential event like companies popping up left and right because more of the onus is going to be on this. I think honestly forevermore. Analog is here. We got dinner parties, vinyl listening sessions, artists doing immersive things, whether you're like Drake and he did his Iceman pop up with all that ice in Toronto, or Zara Larson just did something in LA with
yeah.
some stuff. But what I'm saying is the money's going there because
Yeah.
it's all about connection. So it's just dependent on what path do you kind of want to go. I think because a lot more labels will be allocating dollars to experiential, they're going to be outsourcing this to different companies, different agencies. So your best bet is to get in with an agency who's doing experiential as their bread and butter. And there are some music ones. My girl Chloe is doing experiential. She just did some immersive experiences with Umi, Almeen, Ravina. I can connect you with her. She's an example, but there's a lot more of these agencies popping up. So I think you're perfectly primed in position. Once again, I think LinkedIn is going to be everyone's best
Yeah.
friend, everyone's.
LinkedIn's best friend. And
And
I mean,
follow me because I share a lot of these people who are doing women in music, doing things, building their own companies, who are going to be hiring. There might
yeah.
be opportunities.
And to lastly note, a lot like we saw probably about a month ago, Niall Horan did his dinner party in Calabasas, and one of the fans literally went up to his team and brought her resume. So that's exactly what we're
Exactly.
talking about when it comes to that. Especially like you if you're like creating content as a fan and like building your fan page or running an HQ account, you're gonna at a certain point, you're probably going to get invites to these certain things.
Exactly.
And then at that time, you can start to build your network. Be as smart as that girl. You don't necessarily have to bring your resume, bring a business card if you want to, but that's also a big way to get yourself in the door just from creating like your fan page, building it up. I know I've had some opportunities when it comes to the Fangirl pipeline with some girl, a girl I know, she just recently went on tour with Somber and literally got the job from having a fan page on TikTok that
Yep.
had 300,000
Exactly.
followers. So it's like it doesn't
Yep.
necessarily have to be just music industry like fully. Like you can go in as a fan and start making those connections when you get invited to those things. But Jazz,
Yeah.
I am so happy that we got to do this. I think this was an amazing conversation. And to everyone, I saved the chat, so I'm gonna be writing a sheet with everyone's information so you can all follow each other on LinkedIn, Insta, TikTok. But this was such an amazing first event. I'm gonna be continuing to do these each month. So be on the lookout for the different music industry professionals we have for next month and the months to come. But Jazz, you were an amazing first speaker to have, and I think I can say for everyone that we've really learned a lot from you, and this was such a cool experience. So it's amazing to see that we've all come together from being fans and that we all want we all love wanting to be fans and wanting to work in the music industry. I think this is a really cool community to have, and I'm so excited to develop this more. But yeah, I'm feeling so much gratitude today for
I
I
love
love
it.
it.
Yeah, Jenna, you're doing amazing. I think like what you're building, and I know it because we talk a lot, but what you're
Me and Jazz
building
talk so much.
what you're building and creating with the Fangirl pipeline is phenomenal. I know Jenna's going to send out some stuff. Also, I'll be getting everyone's emails who registered. I'm
Yes.
working on a resource list for y'all because I shouted out a lot of things, but I'm going to compile them so you can follow different organizations, some of my favorite podcasts, newsletters to stay up to date in the industry, where I'm learning from and actively participating in. So, y'all got this. Dream big. Do not limit yourself. As women in music, we are a statistical anomaly in this fucking business. We need every one of y'all, okay, to make the change
Literally.
that we want to see. So, yeah, thank you for being here tonight.
No, we need more fans in the industry. The fans are the backbone of the music industry. We deserve to be seen in these rooms, and I'm going to continue to get you guys in these rooms with music industry professionals. But I really appreciate you all for being here, especially all of you that are from around the world and that have crazy time zones. Like, this is absolutely insane.
Love.
But be on the lookout for all our new stuff. We're going to have another event probably mid-June, and I'll announce our next speaker in the probably at the beginning of the month. But yeah, thank you guys so much. And I hope that all of you got so much from this event. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your day, night, wherever you're from.